The first piece that we're going to have is a poem by Karen, and the title of the poem is Colours. So Karen, over to you.
The tone of light in life's journey always changes, so never worry. Twist the light to suit your story, whilst tracking the stars for an aligned odyssey. Sow the seeds of your truest endeavour and live life in dappled colour. The joyous rapture of diversity is yours to take when you shape this mindfully. Be cautious kind in this world's light to aid your choices for a safer flight. From the ground upwards, you can soar your truest colours from the core.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Karen. That was gorgeous. I hadn't actually heard that one before, so that was as much of a surprise to me as it was to you. That was absolutely lovely. Okay, now this is one I have heard. This is a piece that's been written, a sketch that's been written by Dom Parford, and it is called Offices and Bosses, and it will be starring Laurie, Matt, Mandy and Craig. Oh, and sorry, just a reminder, gallery view for this one, please, everybody.
Offices and Bosses by Dominic Parford. The scene opens on a forest clearing. Two warriors, an elegant elf named Ferradis, and a rough-looking dwarf named Quag enter. Quag is carrying a small box.
Hang on. That's better. Oh, question, bloody question.
My friend, I am equally vexed by the seemingly never-ending toil that is our love for adventure.
What a day. What a day. You know what really upsets me? People making generalisations. They think that just because I'm a dwarf, I'm some kind of unruly, unkempt, confrontational thug.
He spits.
It's enough to make you want to punch someone in the groin.
I know exactly what you mean, my friend. I had to tussle with my apparent mentor's lack of insight earlier today. Really bent my bow out of shape. He asked me to go to Morrowind and meet a cleric named Simon. I say, very well, what does this Simon look like? And his reply to me was, clericy.
You are preaching to the converted, mate. It's as if people don't care about the smaller details. 5 moons ago, someone asked me to rob a mage's guild. Rather than give me a map, they just pointed in the general direction and said 5 miles that way. I mean, what do they think? The dwarves can smell magic? And if we could, what would magic even smell like?
He thinks.
Sleeves?
He refers to the box under Quag's arm.
Anyway, what's that?
Well now, I got this from the market in Tamriel. It's a new type of game where you create a character within a fictional world and then perform tasks as that character in order to increase your skills and generally conquer the world and so forth.
Okay.
It involves statistics, dice rolls, and something called roly play.
What is this roly play which you speak?
It's where you become a character. You take on the belief that you and your character are one, like acting.
Ooh, what is it named?
Offices and bosses.
Offices.
Yeah, like enormous structures filled with mechanical artifacts and marvels known as Apple Macs and Blackberries.
He thinks.
So you play a fruit farmer?
Not exactly. Imagine being surrounded by mystic artifacts that allow you to talk to people in other parts of the land and glimpse wonders from across many realms.
Oh, and is that the internet?
Yes, the internet is kind of like a magic mirror looking into a whorehouse. But you can also check out things like what the weather's going to be like.
Quad begins to unpack the box.
This game certainly does sound interesting. What character should I be? Oh, which character are you?
Let me see. I am an HR man Ager. Yeah. I have complete control over everyone else in the office. It's a bit like a wizard.
Ah, I see. May I?
Oh,
Quag hands Faradis the manual. Faradis looks through it.
What is an administrator?
administrator. Ah, right. Administrator. You are. Now that one's quite interesting. They get given most of the tasks, but don't really get any praise. As such, if they get one thing wrong, everything else collapses. It's a bit like a wizard.
What is a customer services advisor?
Right, here we are. A customer services advisor is a bit like a wizard.
What is an IT technician?
High intelligence, high wisdom, a master in all things unknowable. A bit like a wizard.
I'm unsure about.
They look after the magic mirrors.
Right, that settles it. I'm going to be an IT technician.
Excellent. Then let us begin. Let's see now.
They start to look at the rules. And so they played long into the evening, enthralled by their double lives as members of the so-called rat race. Better than being a member of the alt race, huh? What's that? How is that racist? They're orcs. Oh, let me guess, your wife is an orc. Oh, she is. Oh, I'm sorry, I had no idea. I mean, I knew you were liberal, but anyway, our heroes remained enraptured by the game, indulging in such thrilling tasks as filing, cold calling, and the ever dangerous completion of spreadsheets. However, they were unaware that as they played, danger lurked in the shadows, ready to bring a decisive end to their leisurely activities.
All I need is a 6, and I get to go on an early lunch.
He rolls a 6.
Yes! So I'm going to visit the food hall and the Starbucks shop to buy a coffee. That's like a speed potion, right?
Correct, yes. So you eat your lunch and have your coffee, which gives you a +3 to your speed. You are striding down the high street and, uh-oh,
Why, uh-oh.
roll the dice.
He rolls a 3.
What does that mean?
You've been approached by
Dramatic pause.
A charity worker!
Oh, damn. Oh, they're like trolls, right?
Yes, only uglier, smellier, and far more annoying. Also, this one has a clipboard.
Sounds dangerous. I must not panic. What should I do?
Roll to see if you can walk past him.
He rolls a 2.
What now?
You can't avoid him. He wants you to surrender all your personal information, or he'll make you feel really guilty about something.
Oh, no. Oh, how long have I got left on my lunch break?
Let me see. Yeah. You have time, but this thing is going to keep you here for a while.
Oh, I know. I'll use my magic fruit communicator to contact my office guardian and inform him I will be late back from lunch.
Okay, which fruit communicator have you got?
It's a blackberry on an orange contract, whatever that means.
You'll have to roll for it.
He rolls a 1.
1! Damn it all! Oh, I should stop using my bow hand. Oh.
Unfortunately, your magical fruit communicator is out of juice.
Oh, this is so incredibly hard. Fine. I suppose I'll just have to give all my information to the troll.
Fine. He accepts your participation with glee. After getting you to fill in several forms, he says you've successfully sponsored a panda named Ling Ling. You lose 5 stamina but gain 3 good karma points. You still have the problem of being late back from lunch though. Your encounter took so long that you can't possibly get back in time and need a speed potion, but the one you've had before is wearing off.
I know. I'll sneak back in the office and get a post-it note from the stationery armory. I'll write on it, going to be late back from lunch, see you at 2:15. Then I'll stick it on my desk, and when he asks, I'll behave as if the note was there the whole time. And then he'll ask, maybe...
Rossif, a barbarian, enters the clearing. She is very unhappy.
You unruly, unkempt, confrontational thug! What's all this racket? You're meant to be questing tomorrow. Why do you still up playing games?
Oh, I was just...
It's too late. You need your rest. That goblin cave isn't going to raid itself, you know.
But...
No buts. You'll just have to pretend to photocopy timesheets, or whatever it is, another time. Now, get to bed.
She leaves.
Come on then. We'll just have to finish at a later date.
I was just getting into that.
They pack up and begin to leave.
Stupid goblins. You got much on tomorrow?
Yes, I'm meant to be anointing a demigod.
Oh, boring.
They leave. The end.
Thank you. And thank you, Dom, for writing that. Amazing. Really good. And wonderful cast.
Yeah, thanks, guys. That was awesome. I genuinely made my ribs hurt because I was laughing so hard.
Yay!
Good. Excellent. I'm very pleased. Okay.
That, or he's crying, going, "What have they done to my work?
What have you done?"
No.
Okay. So everybody, videos off again and mics off again, apart from Anne, who is going to perform a sketch, a monologue called Long in the Tooth for us. This is another one. This is going to be on Speaker View. So if you could all go to Speaker View now, that would be wonderful. This is a sketch that I originally wrote for Richmond Shakespeare Society's Theatre in the Dark series that they did a few weeks back now, I think it was, Anne, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
It was, and it so beautifully that I've asked her to resurrect this for our little show. So without further ado, over to Anne.
I lost my virginity around the same time I lost my teeth. Not on exactly the same day and not to the same person, thank God, but I cried both times. It was 1950 and I was 15 years old. I was lucky, as it turned out. A year later and they started charging for forces, but I got mine free. No messing around, out they came and in they went. Hurt like hell, but it was worth it. A whole new set of plastic pearly whites. I'd never been much of a one for smiling, what with me rotten childhood and my rotten teeth. But when I got these dentures, I couldn't stop smiling. It was like a whole new world had opened up. My dad had finally gone and left us. We didn't know where he'd gone and we didn't much care, me and my mum. She worked as a seamstress and she earned just enough for us to get by on. No, he wasn't there nicking all the money to spend in the pub. It wasn't much, but it was enough. There wasn't much to buy back then anyway, but what's with rationing? Well, me and my new teeth went and got a job in Woolies where I could smile at everyone. One day it was pissing it down, I remember, and this chap came in. He was wearing this lovely smart suit and a hat, but he didn't have an umbrella, he didn't have a brolly, and he was soaked to the skin. I sort of expected him to shake himself down like a dog, but he didn't. He just gave this awkward little jiggle in the doorway to get the worst of it off. He looked so funny wiggling around like that in the doorway that I couldn't help it. I laughed. It wasn't a little giggle. It was a real laugh. Oh, dear. And he heard. And he looked over at me. And I thought he'd be cross. He looked at me for a bit. Then he came over to the till. And he said, "Do that again." "Do what?" I said. "Smile," he said. "What for?" I said, all cheeky like. "Because," he said, "when you smile, it's like the sun shining." Well, coming from anybody else, that would have sounded a bit like a line, but it didn't from coming from him. He looked as if he meant it, and he sounded it as well. There was something honest in his eyes that made me feel warm inside. So when he came back the next day and asked if I'd go to the pictures with him, I said yes. And then the next week, when he asked if I'd go to bed with him, I said yes. I think he'd done it before, but I hadn't. And it was a bit awkward at first, a bit sore. But he said we get better with practice. So we did a lot of practice, and he was right. We had a lot of fun. Oh, my mum wasn't best pleased when I told her that I was pregnant. And to be honest, I wasn't happy myself. I wasn't 16. I wasn't married. And I hadn't the slightest clue about babies. And I knew that when I told him, Robert would leave me. He was training to be a solicitor So being a dad wasn't in the plan. He would be sorry, I knew that, but he would leave me. Except he didn't. He went a bit pale and his jaw went really tight. And he didn't say anything for a bit. Neither did I. I just looked at him. I knew what men were like when they were angry. I'd seen my dad with my mum enough times. So I just waited. And then he said, well, I suppose we'd better get married then. And so we did. Just 3 weeks after my 16th birthday. His parents weren't best pleased, you could tell that. His mum looked as if she could have bitten a lemon, but she was too polite to say anything. They were a cut above us, you see. They lived in the posh end of the borough, in one of the houses with gardens. And I expect she wanted something better for her only son than a woolly's tart. But there you go. You get what you're given in life, and that's it. And in all fairness, she wasn't a bad mum-in-law, not a bad nan either. When Nellie came along, and Charlie 2 years later. And so we were happy. Not all the time, of course. I mean, this is real life, not the pictures. But for the most part, we were happy. And who can say better than that? Robert still called me his sunshine, and he meant it. And I still felt warm inside me when I was with him. And then he went and died. I always knew I'd live longer than him. He was a few years older than me, not by that much. I hadn't expected to live so many years alone. It was something in his brain, mannerism. 1 minute he was there, and the next he wasn't. That was 11 years ago. And all that warmth, the warmth that he gave me, that died too. And so I stopped smiling. The sun went behind rain clouds. But this is the thing. Even though you can't see it, the sun is still there. Just sometimes it takes a long time for the cloud to pass. But pass it always does. It was my children, my Nellie and my Charlie, who brought my smile back. I kept telling them I wanted to be left alone, that I didn't want company, but they wouldn't have it. Charlie especially. Oh, he's a cheeky so-and-so, that one, but he does make me laugh. And Nellie, my Nellie, she's got 2 kids of her own now, both grown up. They live in New Zealand. But Charlie taught me how to use that video sort of thing on the computer. And it's so lovely to see them. It always seems so sunny there. And Emily, the little one, oh, she looks just like me when I was her age. Except she's got better teeth.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Anne. Thank you for joining us for this. I really, really, really appreciate it. That was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Right. Everybody, you can unmute now if you would like to, because the next we have, although I'd ask for maybe the videos possibly to stay off, because we'll stay on speaker view. The next item we have, and the final item we have in the agenda tonight, is Hugh doing a bit of stand-up comedy. And since I think that stand-up comedy without the laughs would be a little bit tricky for him to achieve, please do unmute yourself so you can laugh and applaud as appropriate.
If we
Assuming that's
unmute
gonna be
ourselves,
laughs.
the speaker view will switch to the person who's noisiest, Jen.
So, Hugh, you're in charge of getting them all to be quiet when you'd like them to. So,
Well, yeah, okay, fine. Thank you very much, Jen. A little
Over to
presumptuous on the laughs there. We'll see. Well, yes. Good evening, Q2. I thought tonight I'd try something a bit different and have a go at stand-up comedy, which rather amusingly I'm going to do while sat down. Because I'm not wearing any trousers. And so for those who do not know me, my name is Hugh Cox. A quick tip, if you want your son to lead a happy and bullied-free childhood, and your surname happens to be Cox, perhaps avoid the first name Huge. I like to think that I'm slightly more sensitive than my father, and I now have a couple of kids of my own. So when it came to naming them, my wife thought we should posh them up a little bit. Now we live in middle-class southwest London, and so she went with Ophelia for a girl, Isaac for a boy. I kid you not. If it was down to my wife, my daughter would be called Ophelia Cox. My son would be called Isaac Cox. And so you'll be very pleased to know that I am alive to penis puns and insisted that we keep it nice and simple, Rose and Fred. But you know what? I was told my son still got a tough day, first day at school, because apparently Rose is a girl's name. Kids are very cruel. But I think we are, as a new generation of dads, I think we are expected to be more thoughtful and more sensitive than the one that came before us. For example, I was required to attend at the birth of my children. It's a harrowing experience. And my wife rather insisted on it, saying, it is the least you can do, given that you were not there for the conception. Yeah, possible the laughter there's people who know she's not Russian. I cannot do impressions, as Kenneth Williams there. So this new generation of newly sensitive parents, I suppose the big question is the discipline question. Is it still acceptable to smack your child? Now, legally, I can tell you that it is. Trust me, I am a lawyer. It is called reasonable chastisement. But morally, perhaps it's slightly more dubious. Personally, I never have, and I kind of hope I never do. But on the other hand, I do accept that in the right circumstances, if they were very, very badly behaved, I would happily hit somebody else's children. I've got one child in particular in mind here, and for the sake of the story, let's call him Rupert. Well, because that's his name. And Rupert is what psychologists refer to as a little shit. Oh, that's a little bit of a joke there. I thought I might put one of them in. I know psychologists don't actually call him a little shit because his mum genuinely is a psychologist and she calls him Roops. And she breastfed Roops until Roops was 5 years old.
Oh.
Yeah, I heard a groan there. That's exactly how I felt. I felt super uncomfortable whenever I was in their company. Here's another tip: if you're ever in that sort of situation, if you sort of dread making eye contact, my advice is just focus intently on the tits. And that's good advice. That works with all women, not just breastfeeding. And so when this little shit Rupert, when he's acting up and he's hitting other kids and he's stealing toys and so on, all the other parents look to psychology mum for some sort of parental discipline. To which she will invariably say something along the lines of, "Oh, I just think it's so important at that age to let the kids express themselves freely, don't you?" And because my wife is British, she's too polite to say what she really means. Only when she gets home, she says, "That boy is a shit. He should be kept in a cage." And I saw this myself. It was like, maybe it was they had like a joint third birthday for some kids or something, and my lad Freddie was sat in this sort of foam ring with two little girls. He's a bit of a player. Dad. And in climbs little shit Rupert, and he pushes the two girls out, who immediately start crying and run off. And he tries then to push Freddie out, but he can't because Freddie's a bit stockier. He's quite chunky. Takes after his mum. And who is actually now in this room sitting behind me. Yes, fortunately, she can take a joke. She certainly married one. Hey! So because he can't push Freddie out of the ring, what does little shit Rupert do? Well, he bites Fred's finger. And so Fred, in response, much to my delight, smashes Rupert in the face. And off goes Rupert crying to his psychology mum, completely unaware of the burgeoning hypocrisy, immediately comes over to remonstrate with me. So I get in there nice and early, and I say, "Oh, isn't it fantastic to see the boys expressing themselves so..." Which she says, "Well, Hugh, actually, no. I would say, speaking as a psychologist, that level of violence is borderline sociopathy." To which I said, "Well, speaking as a lawyer, I would advise that the age of criminal mentality doesn't start until 10. So it's 7 years before I have to give a shit." Got lawyered. By which I mean, of course, the next day I sent her an invoice for £200 for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Hugh Cox. I trust I've been unmuted for the last 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Very funny.